I'm in two minds about this Oblivion Remaster, and a lot of that depends on where you fall in the great gaming timeline. If you're one of us old relics who remembers when Oblivion first dropped, then odds are you've got those rose-tinted knickers firmly wedged up your nostalgia pipe. You'll be sat there, trousers round your ankles, getting all misty-eyed over a 19-year-old classic that somehow still knows how to swing its sword without snapping a hip. Now on paper, this remaster should be an easy win. Polished visuals, smoother animations, better combat, and the kind of lighting that makes even an Argonian look like a half-shaggable asset. But then the rational bit of me chimes in. The bit that judges games by today's standards, not by how many hours I wasted in my pants playing it back in the day. And it's here you look at that $50 price tag and you have to start being honest with yourself, because if you're new to the world of Oblivion, you might be sat there scratching your head wondering what in the 9Ls is all the fuss about, because behind that shiny new coat of paint is an engine so old it probably creaks when it loads a save file. It's pure vintage Bethesda, glitchier than your nan's internet after a thunderstorm. So is this the best thing since sliced bread, or is it just a bit of crusty old mutton dressed up as lamb? Well, put the kettle on, grab a cuppa, and let's dive deep into today's review. First up, let's discuss the big question at hand. Is this a remaster or a remake? Credit where it's due, this thing offers a hell of a lot more than the usual turn up the brightness and pray they don't notice remasters that we've seen before. At times, Oblivion actually feels like a different beast entirely. We're talking smoother animations, upgraded lighting, and texture work that finally makes bricks look like bricks, not melted cheese. But let's not get carried away either. For all the bells and whistles and graphical nip-tucks, this still sits firmly in remaster territory for me. Why? Because the AI still couldn't outsmart a potato, cities still feel emptier than a monk's inbox on OnlyFans, and those voice lines, lads, they sound like Siri's drunk uncle having a crack at amateur dramatics. Every guard talks like they've just been unplugged and rebooted mid-sentence.
The Kvatch Oblivion Gate has been closed. Don't you understand what that means? We can beat the bastards.
I've heard others say the same.
Have you had the pleasure of staying at the Tiber Septum?
Now back in the day, that was all part of the charm. We didn't know better, bless us. But in 2025, that sort of jank's more dated than your dad's Bluetooth earpiece. So I'm actually relieved Bethesda didn't slap a remake label on this. Expectations stayed nice and grounded, and for once, I didn't have to launch into a full-blown rant because of it. You have to tip your hat to Bethesda here, because I think as long as you yourself know where that expectation sits, then you're going to get more enjoyment from this. Now look, we can't go much further without undressing the graphical upgrades, can we? Because Unreal Engine 5 doesn't just walk into Oblivion, it swans in like it owns the bloody place, slapping its meat on the table and daring you not to be impressed. And to be fair, it mostly delivers. The textures, absolutely miles better. No more flat wallpaper pretending to be brickwork. Now the statues and castles look like they've been carved by someone who wasn't wearing a blindfold. What you lose in that old school colour saturation, that slightly cartoonish sun-drenched vibe, you more than gain in proper atmospheric depth. Gone is the plastic sheen of yesteryear. Now you've got fog rolling in, weather systems that spring into action during exploration, and a moody sun haze that makes every sunrise feel like it's been handcrafted by an elf with a vape addiction. Honestly, it's probably what Bethesda wanted all along, before they were hamstrung by the tech at the time. And don't get me started on the grass and vegetation. There's so much of it now, long, flowing, luscious blades of the stuff stretching out like nature's red carpet, sprinkled with flowers that give the whole colour palette a proper pop. Interiors aren't slacking either. Torchlight now glows like it's actually giving off heat, casting proper shadows that make dungeons feel more lost in ancient ruin and less someone's basement cosplay party. All in all, what they have done with this remaster is nothing short of superb, because if you've played the original countless times, it's going to leave you a little teary-eyed and wondering why this has taken so long. However, and I hate to be that guy, not everything is all sunshine and roses. See, I'm running this bad boy on a 5090, fully juiced, maxed out at 4K with every graphical bell and whistle cranked to the max, and I'm pulling 100 to 150 frames per second depending on location, so you'd think smooth sailing, right? Wrong, because something's off. It ain't stuttering, not exactly, it's not chugging or hitching, but it doesn't feel silky. That proper butter on a hot pancake fluidity you expect when your rig's basically a small nuclear reactor. Maybe it's frame timing, maybe it's VSync throwing a wobbly, maybe Todd's cursed it with his usual black magic, I don't know, but it's there, a subtle itch in the brain that says, mate, this ain't right. Which brings us to the harsh truth. No matter how fit this thing looks, underneath it's still the same pig it always was. We've all been there, haven't we? 5 pints deep, chatting up a worldie at the bar. You text your mates like you're Casanova reborn. She invites you back and you're thinking you've won the bloody lottery. But then morning comes, the beer goggles have evaporated and suddenly you're staring at something that looks like it crawled out of an Oblivion gate. That, my friends, is Oblivion Remastered. Gorgeous on the outside, but once you scratch the surface, it's still held together with duct tape, hope, and the occasional patch. You see, it's not just a feeling. The cracks are there, plain as day, and they start showing up like your ex at your wedding. Enemy AI? Absolutely tragic. These bellends charge at you like they've just snorted coke and they hope for the best. There's no flanking,